Hello everyone, this is Steve24 here. You may know me as Steve1, the creator of the YouTube channel called GamersComms, or short for Gamers Commentaries. So, I decided to open up a podcast channel. It's just pretty much to express my opinions about different subject matters and also have some of my other co-host commentators from GamersComms join in on this as well. So, let's, excuse me. So without further ado, let's get started. So for this very first episode of the Gamers Comms podcast, we are going to be talking about how to do a playthrough. Now, this might seem like to be an old subject or so, which rightfully it could be, but some people out there may not know exactly how to start a not a podcast, but a playthrough or let's play or whatever, right? So I'm just here to give out my opinions about the whole let's play or playthrough stuff and what you will need to go through it. So the first, we're going to cover about 4 to 5 subjects. The first one is about why are you doing a let's play or why are you doing a, playthrough of this game. And pretty much, at least for me in my case, it's more of I'm doing a playthrough because I want to express my opinions about the game, whether it's actually good, bad, what can be improved on, what I thought was pretty cool about the game, different things like that. And also, it's just for me to, again, mostly express my opinions on it, whether it's correct or not. That's more of the eye of the beholder. So, again, this mostly just, sharing my opinion. Even though this is the internet, and not a lot of people can handle opinions that well sometimes. Like, look at I hate everything sometimes. Yeesh. But anywho, so what was the reason why you want to do it here, guys? Just think about it. Like, for example, are you doing it to get noticed? Again, if you're like me, expressing opinions about the game or whatever, There was different reasons for it and so forth. I mean, that comes with anything, really. So now, if you think about why you're doing this here, the next thing we're going to talk about is the equipment. Now, in 2 subcategories of this here, we're going to be talking about capture cards and also an alternative way for doing this. Microphones will come in more in the audio area, and I won't get the microphones just yet, so yeah, I'm just letting you guys know. Now, anyways here, so capture cards. Yeah, so it's recommended that you guys will use a capture card. Now, some people out there may not know exactly what a capture card is. I'm just assuming this is for people who are new. Now, for someone who's been using, the Elgato and so forth. But anyway, so a capture card is pretty much where you plug it into a TV, like a VCR or whatever, you plug it into the device that captures that footage and it transfers into the computer. That's pretty much what it is in a nutshell. There's probably more to it than that than what I'm just saying, but that's basically the gist of it. And for us gamers here, or let's players or playthroughers, whatever you want to give yourself a name of, pretty much here, this is where we're going to go ahead and start using these devices for it. So there are many different types that you're going to see there, no matter what there. You're going to see people using the Elgato, the Hapog, the Roxio game capture cards, for example, or the Ava Media capture card. And most of those are high-end capture cards, at least by comparison to when you say something like, like the EasyCap, the Dazzle, and so forth. Now, there are 2 different ways that you can start doing this here. And again, this is to think of how you're starting off, because I know not everyone starts off with the high quality stuff here. I mean, surely I didn't. I can give you examples of that later on here, but pretty much you can use either RCA standard definition or S-Video, which again, they're all for standard definition. S-Video is more the preferred choice if you can actually use the S-Video feature on your game consoles. Not all of them will have it, but yeah. And at least if you can do that, you're gonna stand out a little bit for it. And that's not such a bad thing, because let me just give you guys a little bit of trivia so that way you guys can understand where I started from using one, because I started from one capture card and I ended up getting 2 other ones, and the third one's what I used the most. at least for modern games and sometimes classic games. It just depends on how well it works. So I first started off using the Dazzle capture card. It was the white one. It was the DVC 100. And it worked out for what I needed to do. I mean, the cord was pretty long enough as it was. I mean, very long. But the only thing that made it different was that it had S video and what was it? S video RCA cables, your yellow, white, and red for the audio and so forth. So it was over standard definition, but at least it was a starting point. Now, there are capture cards that can do this just as well. So besides just the Dazzle, you got like Diamond's one touch recorder that has, a software that has the easy grab stuff to the easy cap software. Not software, sorry. I mean, device here, which is just a USB capturing device and so forth. I mean, there are different ways you can do this here, and what you usually need with those are going to be pretty much just splitter cables, and those pretty much, as the name sounds, it splits the signal between the video and the audio, pretty much. So it's going to be kind of a mess. But I may show what it looks like maybe sometime, or just pull up a picture and just put the link down below for people to see what I'm talking about by this point in time. But yeah, it's just one of those, it's a starting point. And just to give an example here, I used a Dazzle to record a Sega Genesis game called Pac-Man 2 The New Adventures. And while the quality is alright, it was a starting point for me, and I started working on that. But I started using the Dazzle for the longest time until when I wanted to start recording on, the 360 playing Dynasty Warriors 7. And from that point onward, I kind of saw that it wasn't going to work that well. So that's when I started looking up a higher end different capture cards. The one that stood out to me the most because of its versatility was the Diamond Gaming Capture 1000. And there it actually had HDMI components, S video, and the audio in and out. And from there, I used that for a while and everything else, and it did work out for what I needed to do. I mean, it did look nice and everything else, but the problem with that was I started going from there to wanting to record PS3 games. Now with the Diamond game capture card, it would not record anything of PS3 and higher up than standard definition. So that comes to my third capture card, which I use a lot for the newer games and everything else, and that is pretty much the Elgato. And the Elgato's been the one I've been sticking with throughout this whole entire thing. And for people who are wondering, it's the original Elgato, the high definition capture, not the Elgato 60, where it looks more slimmer and all that stuff. Yeah, so I went through 2 different other capture cards, but that's because after a while, you just kind of need to upgrade. Now, for you guys who are out there wondering, well, would I need to upgrade? Sooner or later, but it's just really up to you of what you're looking for. I mean, again, you may even use some of your older capture cards. I mean, just to give you an example, I use sometimes my Diamond capture card here to record older games, because since it has the S video and I have a universal cable that has S videos on it, yeah, it works out pretty good for what I need to do. But again, it just depends on your budget and what you need, because there's sometimes where like let's say you want to do some live streaming. Well, I can tell you that out of the 2 to 3 capture cards can do that. And that's the Diamond DVC 100, because of the DM cap got, an update like 2 years ago. This is 2016, and I think it happened back in 2014, where it could do live streaming. While the Elgato, right out of the package, can do live streaming either on Twitch or YouTube. So if you're looking for features like that, you're going to be expected to pay more for it. Now, again, it's all about how much are you able to spend for that kind of stuff to happen. And I'm not going to say that you should start right away on the high definition end. I mean, if you can, that's great for you. But in reality, not everyone's able to do that kind of thing. So I decided to, give mentions to like the Dazzle, the Easy Cap, and so forth. And they work out for what you need to. I mean, it gives you a start and everything else. Now, there are other ways you can stream with those capture devices, like using like open broadcast source, or OBS for short. I mean, there are other ways you can work around it. It's just that, if you try to find like an old complete kind of package throughout the whole thing, I would suggest the two I named that you can do live streaming with. So, again, it kind of, you can see what I saw from a sound definition, and it worked for a while, but I just needed something that can, do a better job. And I did find something, and then when I was trying to record for PS3, well, guess what? That's when I had to look for the Elgato, and it just seemed to work out pretty good, and I still use it to this day. And again, is that such a bad thing? No, not by any means or anything. It just shows that, over time you're just going to sooner or later upgrade to things that are sometimes better and everything else. So that's for video capture card. So we got over reasons why. The video capture card here, I said microphones will be in the audio one, but the alternative. So there is an alternative that you can do this with, even without a capture card, but I don't know how well the quality of it looks and everything. I just saying that right now. But technically, you can use a camcorder for this kind of stuff. Now, some people may ask, well, how does that work? Well, from my understanding, you can use it as a capture card technically, but the way how you use it is that you make sure that your camcorder has an in and output kind of thing. I believe so. It's been a while since I looked it up for how to use a camcorder for this, but if you have a camcorder that works good for this kind of thing, technically you already have a head start on it. I mean, it's not the best thing in the world. I don't know. I'm just been used to more direct capture with actual capture cards like that than using a camcorder. So that's just something you can keep in mind of what you're going to be needing sometimes, right? Yeah. So now another part of the equipment is the microphone, and this goes into audio stuff and part of a little bit of software as we start talking about. We'll start talking about hardware at this moment. And when it comes to the audio hardware stuff, there are, again, depending on your budget, there are different options for what you're looking for. Like, I'm going to tell you this right now, what I'm using here, so that way you get an idea of how it sounds. So right now, I'm using the Blue Yeti USB microphone, and as my temporary substitute wind sock, or wind foam that goes on top of it. And for people who don't know what a wind foam is, it's like a pop filter, like how, I guess I could just demonstrate this here. So what a wind foam and a pop filter are supposed to do are supposed to block excess of air, pretty much, from going on to the microphone. So, for example, if I get closer here, maybe about 10 inches here or so. All right, yeah, that sounds good. I start using either saying words with S's or with P's. So, for example, Peter Piper pecked a peckle. And now with some of it there, you can probably tell that I was going puh, like that there. And that's when having a pop filter comes in handy for something like this, or having a wind foam for this as well. The other one is with the S's or something like that there. From what I heard from voice, people who do voiceovers, it's just good to have those kind of things there because it blocks off the excess like dust or whatever that you may see that, could ruin the microphone and everything else. So it's always good to get these kind of things. Now back to what I was talking about for microphones. There are different types of microphones. There are two here. The most that you will see that most people will have, at least on YouTube from what I've seen, unless they start to go into higher up productions, is going to be having the Blue Yeti microphone. Now, the Blue Yeti is not a bad microphone. It's a versatile microphone because technically you're getting about 3 to 4 different kind of mics that's put into this microphone of the different options that it has and so forth. And I can go over them kind of quickly, I guess, here, but I'm just not too sure that would be really that good, but let me just pull it up here. Blue Yeti. But yeah, so going on Blue's website here, if you're looking at the Yeti, so it has different stuff here. And again, it makes it a versatile mic for about like $100 USB mic, which isn't bad, but some people may have different personal preferences. So, for example, it has stereo mode, which gets both the left and right of the microphone. Cardioid, I'm probably messing that word up there, but cardioid is pretty much for, it's gonna get what's only in front of it. It's so, if I was to turn this around, you won't hear me that much from the back here or anything. I'm speaking loud so you can hear me, but you probably won't be able to. But once I come back forward here, you can start to hear me, and that's what the cardioid thing is. Now, omnidirectional, it means it's a 360 setting that gets everything, so like right behind it and so forth. Bidirectional mode is pretty much where it goes for both forward and you can talk behind it. So, I mean, that's the son of a Blue Yeti that can work here too and everything else. But let's say you don't have that kind of money to get it here. Well, what are some other microphones that might be, well, good here and everything else? Well, again, it depends on your setting of your room and everything else. At least for my Blue Yeti, because it can pick up like, even right now as I'm speaking, it can pick up, you won't hear it since I'm going to take out the noise out of this here, but it's going from, you can hear my computer fan going on down below me. So, I mean, it can pick up on quite a bit of things. It's a sensitive kind of mic. Now, what was it here? What are some other microphones? Some other microphones that I have seen before and have used, I say with some of them. One of them was the Samsung Go mic. And now, that's Samsung, S-O-N, not Samsung, S-U-N-G, that I'm saying this here. But if you're looking for a cheap microphone and you go everywhere a lot and everything, well, the Samsung Go mic would be the thing that could help out for you. Now, the reason why I say that is it's a very, very small microphone. It's a very portable microphone. How big is it? Well, if you were to take out like a credit card and put it in your hand or so, it's like that kind of big. We're talking about a very palm size. It's a palm size mic. And again, what's good about it is that you can have a headphone jack that you can listen to your own voice and make sure everything sounds good. It could be working with any mic stand. And what's good and very nice about this, and depending where you go to, it's about like $30 or $35 usually. And that's not a bad thing if you're starting out. I mean, I used to have this microphone for the longest time here, and it did help out for when I needed. But then I decided I was looking for an upgrade, and so did Bob, someone else who does commentary with me, and he also runs a channel of Wisecracking Dragons. I gave him this microphone to work with on this here. And he says he likes using it and everything else. But now I've been trying to help him trying to find a different microphone. Because sooner or later, things can only get you so far just how it is sometimes. So, if that seems good enough for you, well, that's a good place to stop. But if you're looking into it in the middle kind of thing, I would try the Audio-Technica 2100. And the 2100, as I'm looking this up here now, is pretty much a microphone that has a hidden feature inside of it, pretty much. Well, not really hidden, but you wouldn't expect it. And what do I mean by this? Well, not only is this microphone a $50 kind of mic here, but what's nice about it is that if you were to look it up right now here, it's a microphone that has a USB end and also an XLR end with it there. And also a headphone jack. So if you're looking for a microphone that you may want to be using in the future as an XLR microphone without spending the extra money on this kind of stuff, for about $50, and when you're getting with a brand name like Audio-Technica, that's not a bad thing for it too. And again, it's like having a 2-in-1 kind of mic for $50 here or so. And again, to me, I think that's a pretty cool deal with it there. And what I also forgot to mention is that this one here has an audio control and everything else. But I mean, for a microphone that, you get a plastic stand with to get it going and everything else, to say that later on down the road you want start using XLR microphones, you already have one right there for you. So I mean, it just depends, but those are some microphones I would say are pretty good. But it just depends on your budget, how much you're looking for. And if you can't afford any of that there and all that stuff, sometimes just even having just something like a desktop microphone would just work. And it's one of those ones that you see they're on the little stand, and I probably might put another picture in or whatever of this, but again, you just have to see it for yourself. But they're not bad microphones. They're pretty cheap microphones, and you can get started on it. I'm not gonna say they're the best quality in the world. I won't say that, but it gets you going, and you get to see what it's like to mess with this kind of audio microphone stuff. The only difference between those ones and the ones I've been talking about are their headphone jacks in, and pretty much you get alright kind of sound with it. And at least in my experience, that's alright. USB mics are a step up, but if you're looking to get that true studio professional sound and everything, you're gonna go all the way straight to XLR microphones. And like I said, with that Audio Technica 2100 microphone, at least it's a 2-in-1 mic that you don't have to worry about upgrading anytime soon. The only thing you just need to get is a USB audio source for it, just for it to work, and the XLR cables and everything else. Other than that, though, you pretty much have a good setup. At least, you're getting an idea. Now, people may say, well, what about the Blue Snowball? That's another recommendation on this as well. But again, look up YouTube videos about this, because it gives you an idea of what you're getting yourself into for this kind of quality of a mic here and so forth. I'm going to say this here now, even with my Blue Yeti microphone, I would say it's good, but I don't know if I have it to the best setting. So even if you're listening to this now with the Blue Yeti microphone, I'm going to let you know that. I don't know if I'm using the best settings for it, but so forth, it's been working good and everything else. So that's with microphones in a nutshell for all that there. And again, one thing I forgot to mention was that if you're going to listen to microphone reviews, make sure you're listening with a headset, because, headphones, whatever. But reason why is because you will hear in those reviews that they use the standard microphone that's on, let's say if it's on a camcorder. Use a camcorder's mic, or then you compare it to an external mic, you can hear the quality and difference, unless you have your PC, stuff very loud for people to hear. But other than that, though, try doing that sometimes and see what you find. And again, everyone needs a starting point somewhere. And even if you got the lowest mic, don't be afraid to use it. Just make sure it works very well, that you're okay with it. That's the only thing I would say about that. Excuse me. So, moving on now. So, now what is, the next step is find really good software for people to work with, either audio edits or video editing. Now, I'm going to start with the audio edits first before I go into video editing, because I can really talk a long time about it, and I don't want this podcast to go on for too long. But anywho, so when it comes down to audio editing software, there are different kinds out there. There are some times where microphones will come with software to use for that mic and all that stuff. But the one free program that most people have used, unless they're being professional and they start to use like Adobe Sound Booth or whatever comes with some of the professional software as it is, Audacity is a free audio editor that really works out when you need it to. And what do I use Audacity for? Well, I use Audacity to not only get rid of noise in the background for noise reduction, but I also use it as a normalizer here too, just to make sure everything sounds correct. And that's what I'm going to be doing to this podcast here too. And like I said, you won't be able to hear my computer fan going on doing this whole recording here, and that's because I edited it out and everything else, because I don't think you guys want to hear that kind of computer loud sound, or or whatever. I mean, you don't want to hear that, and I apologize for making that noise, but you get my point. So it's not bad or anything. Audacity is free. You can use it as a editing, for audio editing unless you want to go into something professional. Now, again, I use it mostly for noise reduction and normalizing. I haven't really used it much for anything else, so I'm not the best expert to ask for when it comes down to this. And again, you're going to have to find something that works for you. If you're on Mac, you're going to be probably using something like GarageBand to do some of this kind of stuff, or, well, maybe not GarageBand, but something on there for them. I'm just saying, if you're not, unless you don't want to go download Audacity, which can work on both, and I suggest just doing that. Anywho, excuse me. So now, we're going to talk about video editing. Now, video editing is, I'm not going to say just a required skill, but it's a skill that you take time in practicing on, because not everyone's going to be a great editor right out the gate. I can tell you that for a fact. And I'm just going to give you my experience, like I've been doing it throughout this whole podcast. So here we go. So my experience when it comes to video editing is that there are some limitations on video editing software and so forth. And let me give you an example of this. I started using video editing software way back in high school, about 2000, maybe 2008, 2009, I believe so. While I was in high school, taking digital media classes, and pretty much here, I started learning how to do transitions and different things, and I started using Windows Movie Maker. Now, Windows Movie Maker is alright to use. It's a free editing software that works for what you need, but don't expect it to be something as great as Adobe Premiere, Ava Media, video editing software. I might be getting names wrong here, so I do apologize. Sony Vegas, and so forth. It's a basic editor that you can learn how to do transitions and different things, and which is not a bad thing in itself. It's just that you don't expect it to be the higher end stuff just because it's free. So, other than that, that's a starting point you can use. But when I started doing more video editing and everything else, I didn't always stick with Windows Movie Maker, even though you could use it to record video games. I didn't use that software to record video games. What I used to record video games was Cyberlink Power Director 8 back in the day. And I still use the Cyberlink Power Director line. Right now I have 12. They're probably up to 13 or 14 at this time of this podcast here in 2016. But the Cyberlink Power Director stuff, it actually works out pretty well, and they have different versions. The version I have, and I always been using after switching over, was Ultra. And it's a step up beyond Deluxe, but there's Deluxe, Ultra, Ultimate, and Direct. Dang it, I hate my speech impairment sometimes. And Director Suite. And if you go on their website, you will start to see the differences of what they can and can't do and so forth. I'm not going to go into details with all that because I'm not sure if I'm the best person to ask it. Again, that's when you just go onto the manufacturer's website and they can answer that kind of question for you. But I started using Cyberlink Power Director for a very long time here, and I still use it every now and then. It just depends on what I'm doing here with it. But after a while, I switched over to Sony Movie Studio Platinum 13. Now, Platinum 13, if you're going to compare it to Sony Vegas, it's pretty much the little brother of that software. And for me, I've been using this for a long time here now. You've been using it on the GamersComms channel, been using it to make the edits, the intros, the outros, everything that you could think of on that channel. And so forth. I'm not gonna lie, I do like it for what it is. It's just that there's sometimes I wish I can use it more effectively, or it could be much better. Again, it's a consumer level software, and it's not bad if you're looking for it. But there are different versions of Sony Movie Studio. That's just something to keep in mind. So the one I have, it has all the bells and whistles. Then it's other version, Sony Movie Studio, and that's just a breakdown, basic editing program. Pretty much, I pretty much got the step up one of it, and actually, what I ended up getting was the suite because I've been trying to think about messing with the DVD archetype that's in with it to sound forger that's with it. But what's this got to do with, video editing? Well, I'm just giving you some software that I have been using and everything else. And you may, look it up here and might see what software works for you and so forth. I mean, at least that's the idea of it. What else here I need to cover here without making this here go on for too long here? Pretty much something else I would say is that when it comes to video editing, learn the software that you're using, because each software can do anything different than what the other software can do. And there's sometimes where that software can do better than what, let's say, software A is good at some things, but while software B is better than some things than what software A is. So it's just something you have to keep in mind of when you're doing this kind of research. And again, use YouTube and you can see for yourself the reviews on how it goes and so forth. So now we come to the final part, and that's going to be doing commentary. Now, I'm not going to say commentary is like a required skill or anything. By no means. I'm not going to go on and say that it is and go on to that kind of tangent. How I look at commentary is pretty much you're giving out your basic thoughts about what's going on in the game itself. And you're just commenting over what you thought happened, what you thought was funny, this and that, and different things. A bad commentator who I don't really like a lot, hell, I don't think anyone else does, because everyone makes fun of this guy here, is DSP. And when he just commentates over cutscenes, and he does other things that kind of actually, that will probably be for a whole different video about this guy here, but pretty much he does things that you're not supposed to do in like a playthrough or a let's play or anything, so forth. And I understand that sometimes you may, what was it here? Go ahead and just make up comments and cutscenes, but you shouldn't do that. And I know I had to make a pause there because I thought I was about to sneeze almost. But now, commentaries, you pick what you like, pretty much. I mean, are you the informative one who gives you like trivia about different games here that goes into making references, so forth? Or are you the comedic guy who can, make things work if you have a straight guy with you? An example of these kind of two duos I could think of right from the top of my head, and who's also an inspiration for me doing my own commentary channel, is Hellfire Comms. And Hill Dragon, and I forget the other guy's name, but I think his name was Tom. I do apologize. I'm sorry, the name's blanking out on me right now. But these guys here, pretty much one of them is the straightforward guy, while the other one is the comedic guy here. And while, humor is a subject to, what you like and everything else, to me, these guys have done pretty good in commentary and something I like to listen to. Because not only are they, to me at least, are funny at some points, but they also, I do have to say, offer trivia about the game, and they do talk about the game and their feelings or experience with the game. That's how it should be done with the commentaries. At least that's what I try doing when it comes to my own commentary. So, for example, like the South Park Stick of Truth game. I did a commentary with Soylent Bob on this here, and pretty much me and him, we talked about the game, but we also talked about, our experience with South Park in general and how it ties into the game. At least we tried doing that. We might have gone a little bit off topic here and there sometimes. I will admit that. But at least we stuck to the subject. We just didn't go off to something else like going, well, I had to go to the market today because we ran out of ketchup. Or something like that there. I mean, you just can't do that kind of stuff there, because it detracts over it. I mean, while I do like the Game Grumps, but some of their commentary, I won't lie, have been like that sometimes. And it makes me go, well, these guys don't care about the game, so I'm out of here. And go from there. At least that's from my experience. Some people may not like it, but hey, it's just me expressing my opinion here, surprisingly enough. So again, you just find what kind of commentary you like. And also, do you want to do post commentary or do you want to do live commentaries? And when it comes to post commentaries, I'm better at it. And for people who don't know what post commentary means, it just means pretty much you record the gameplay and then everything else, and then you do then you talk over the gameplay, but you're doing it after you talk over the game that you just recorded. That's why it's called post commentary. I'm better at that than I would be at live commentary, because knowing me as a gamer that's playing games, I could not do live commentaries because I'd be too focused in the game to say anything sometimes. I mean, I may have a reaction to the game, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes I sit there, I'm just quiet playing the game. So it gives you an idea of what, how I am. And again, you may be great at doing stuff like that there. And you just find out and you experiment with what you like and what you think works out. That's the whole thing with this stuff there. So to conclude this podcast before it goes any much longer here, pretty much we went over why do you want to do this let's play or whatever you want to call it, playthroughs or so forth, to some equipment that you're going to be needing, the video capture cards for this. Then went on to microphones and so forth. And then after that, I went to, what was it here? Editing software for audio and video, and lastly, commentaries. So, I mean, hopefully this gives you guys an idea, at least from my perspective, helps you guys out with it. But again, overall, do your research about what do you like here, about when it comes to commentary. What can you see yourself doing to, how well does this video card here work? To how well does this microphone here work? That's what YouTube has a place for a bunch of reviews at, and it's a great place to get started at before you go out and buy one, because you may never know. You may buy a product that seems to be great, but then it turns out to be a piece of crap later. So you never know. But other than that, though, here, guys, this is the end of episode 1 of the GamersComms Podcast here. And I hate my stuttering in this sometimes. I hate it. But anyways, so you guys have a good night or day, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.